This is Disclosure Now, a show where we expose the truths that are nefariously hidden from humanity. Today Arkheim Ra and Tseng are joined by Amir, Jahangiri, Drago Reid, and Penny Bradley for a round-table discussion on the Anunnaki and the Archangels. Who are they really? Are they benevolent, or are they a harm to mankind? Find out on this episode of Disclosure Now.
Hi everyone, welcome to Disclosure Now with Arkheim Ra, and Tseng is supposed to be here. I don't know where he is. He did know about this, but life happens. He's a father now, and I imagine it's a lot to adjust to. So let's just all be patient with him. I'm sure he'll show up. But one thing I just wanted to say is that the Full Disclosure Now conference, it's in July. It gives you plenty of time to decide whether you want to go or not, but we just wanted to advertise that the tickets are available at fulldisclosurenow.org. I spelt it wrong in the description, it looks like, but I rushed to put this together, guys. I'm sorry. But fulldisclosurenow.org. I spelt it wrong in the description, but I really recommend people come. Penny, who is going to be there, and Drago, who is supposed to be here for this interview, is also going to be at the conference, and it's just going to be a great conference. It was last year as well. Again, I don't know where everybody is, but we're going to welcome the people who are here to the chat. Welcome, Drago, and welcome, Penny.
That's not Drago, that's Dr. Amir.
Thank you, Amir, for being here. I'm so sorry. It's been a lot. I did a little bit of a live. I had this live stream concert thing planned it for before this, and then I couldn't find the cord.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I was up all night with a tummy issue, and I managed to get things resolved in time to take a short nap before this. So I'm hopefully not going to be night crazy on you.
Well, I'd like to extend my warmest greetings to our honored audience, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thank you for your valuable time. I hope that you enjoy our discussion. It's an honor to be here. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, thank you both, Amir and Penny, for being here. And I'm admittedly a little bit disappointed that my esteemed colleague Brian isn't here, as well as Drago. But
I shot them each a reminder as I logged off.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. This is kind of an important show to me, but I'm used to people just being human. It's part of life. But I just wanted to really bring up the fact that the Anunnaki, of course, are a huge buzzword. I don't even want to say it's more than that. This is one of the very important issues that we face when we concern ourselves with learning about the true history of humanity, where we really came from, what really happened. To understand the Anunnaki is to understand our history. And I will admit that even for me, a bit of the history is convoluted for myself. I remember some things, which I will contribute to the conversation. But I'm always very open about the fact that I can remember a moment very clear, or a few moments, or even more than a few moments, but that doesn't give me the whole picture of everything, right? So
Yeah.
it's important to bring up. But I do remember some things about the Anunnaki, about the Draco, about our relationship with them, and I'm hoping that you guys can help me get a little context. So one of the important things that I want to bring up during this interview as well, just as a preface to introduce everything, is the archangels of the Bible are connected to the Anunnaki, and it is important to distinguish that and to understand it. So that's one of the things that I want to bring up too. So now to introduce my guests, I feel like they both need no introduction, but we'll do that anyway, just to help maybe some of the newbies, as they do often come along. We're here with Dr. Amir Jahangiri, and he's an energy worker, light worker, He is from the UK. He's the Wizard of Wivenhoe. I have his link in the description, and basically the ancient history of Earth. It's something that he has been a part of, that I've been a part of, and we know each other, and admittedly Penny as well. We might not go into the very nitty gritty details of all that stuff because some of it's kind of personal, I guess. But
Thank you.
but we were there for some of the stuff, is what I want to say. So just because I don't have the best memory in the world doesn't mean that I wasn't there, and that's kind of where Amir and Penny as well help fill in the gaps. And for people who aren't aware, Penny is, I don't know how you couldn't be aware if you follow my channel, but just in case, she's Knockwaffen Pilot on Rumble. She was on YouTube. She's on Odyssey as well. And she got censored to the brink of destruction, and she decided to leave the platform, as a lot of people have done. But she's here with us now on YouTube. Fingers crossed. Don't believe in censorship, guys. Don't come in and say not allowed.
What they did was they started nitpicking my videos.
Like they're doing to Rob right now.
Like they're doing exactly like they're doing to Rob right now. And I saw the writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 years ago, I saw the writing on the wall, and I moved to another platform. I really wish my followers on YouTube would follow me to Odyssey or Rumble, either one. Both would be wonderful, but I'm not expecting miracles.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that's the problem. Is like everyone's so like, okay, if you get a smartphone, right, from the store, from Walmart for $30 or whatever it is, and you get a cheap plan, the cheapest one you can get, the stuff that's most accessible to people, they get their smartphone or their iPhone. YouTube is on that phone as an app. It's already downloaded into it, and people use it because.
See, I didn't know this because I don't have an electronic leash.
That's basically what it is, Penny.
I'm on a desktop.
Yeah.
And I have 32 gig RAM. So I can do whatever I want. I don't need a leash.
Well, that's what these phones are, which is something that a lot of people don't want to address. Because of the convenience aspect. I mean, really it is. It's, everything's so convenient. But then it's not. It's not more convenient. If you really add it up, it's not. But
why should I pay $100 a month, which is what a plan costs here, for something that I will use maybe once a month? I mean, that makes a phone call pretty expensive. And I will admit that I'm technologically challenged with smartphones. I think part of it's a mental block that I don't want one, so I can't figure out how to use one. So, I mean, you probably saw that at the conference. If I really needed to make a call, I had you guys dial it for me and hand it to me because I don't know how to do that. My neighbor here, she acts like that I'm just totally retarded because I can't dial her phone.
Well, like I said, I've noticed that it's not always the technology that is thrust upon us is not always intuitive. It can be frustrating. But
well, my fingers are, I'm hypothyroid, so my fingers are not warm enough to register on the thing. That's the first problem. So I have to use a stylus. And yes, I have one. There, you can see it there. I have a stylus. So for the occasional time, I have to use someone else's. Lou has one. He let it expire, so he's not paying $100 a month for it.
Well, with our little warm introduction, let's move forward to the topic at hand, which is an uncomfortable topic for many people in the community because there seems to be a lot of cognitive dissonance when it comes to the subject, and it's something that is not exactly fun to talk about. I don't make this show because I believe that I'm going to curry favors with anyone, but we're going to talk about the Anunnaki, which is a huge part of humanity's history. Now, I highly recommend people do their deep dives themselves. There's a lot of history out there in the ancient texts and what have you. And you can read between the lines if you get good at that. And you can find out your own information. We're not telling anybody to believe in anything blindly. It's important to do your own research. But I do know that both myself, Penny, and Amir have experienced some things in our ancient past that give us a little perspective on the Anunnaki. Now, I think the first thing that I want to bring up is, and I think this is very important, but also maybe uncomfortable, is the fact that the Anunnaki are like the archangels in the Bible. So you have Michael.
They're all of humanity's sky gods are Anunnaki, and they have a hierarchy among themselves. So the archangels are, okay, the sky gods are the royals, and the archangels are the layer below that. So we already have two layers of Anunnaki in our religious pantheon that we have had with us since our creation. That's why we continue to be taught the ancient gods, even though we are officially Abrahamist, almost exclusively, at between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. That makes up what, 70% of the planet. So even there, God, Allah, are Anunnaki.
So we had a little interview about this that sort of explains a lot of this that I highly recommend people go back to. And Penny and I did kind of an interview about the Abrahamic religions and how they interfered with mankind. And so a lot of this conversation is sort of just repeating that because these Anunnaki sky gods are the same people that we talked about in that interview, in that conversation. But I just thought it was important to bring it up, like very specifically, the Anunnaki, because it is a buzz term. It is a subject that many people were interested. I feel like even the common man at this point understands that there's this part of our history that is associated with the Anunnaki, but I feel like it's become kind of unclear. Like, for instance, I'm just going to bring up an example. And one of the reasons why I invited Amir onto the show is I've done a lot of energy work with different people. And I have had certain people who, when I do the work with them, they bring up, by the way, my microphone. I should probably, can you hear me better now because of that? I forgot it was thing. But anyway, a lot of people, Rainford, I'm sorry. What were we talking about? Sorry.
Energy work.
Energy work.
Yeah, okay. So I've done energy work with people where I'm not going to name names, but they bring up like the sky gods and they bring up maybe Michael or Gabriel or whoever. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't need them here for this. You know what I mean? And that's why I've really liked Amir is because Amir, I've done some powerful work with Amir that's really helped me. And he calls upon Source, God, like the actual source of creation. And not these in-between entities. And I think that's an important distinction to make is when you're calling upon higher powers to help people with energy work, to call upon Source, I'd say that that's not too much of an ask. Like, Source is loving, Source is endless, and no one should ever feel like, oh, I'm too small for a Source to let me go. No. You are Source. Source is you, you are Source. So if you call upon Source, it's going to help you. And that's what I like about Amir's work, because some people will call on certain entities and this stuff, and it's like, okay, cool. I'm not saying that certain entities won't come in and help you, but the big guns, it's God, literally source God. That's the big guy. That's the guy who's.
Well, this is my first time meeting Dr. Amir. I've not encountered him before. I did watch one of his videos with a friend of mine who wanted my opinion of his work, and I thought he did a fine job. I have had people impose energy work on me.
Okay.
So I'm a tad bit on the reluctant side.
Yes.
I've also had encounters with beings that I'm not comfortable sharing publicly.
Understood. Any imposition of energy, it is a violation of divine law.
It is, yes.
It is not acceptable. And so
That's one of the
I think,
big things that I have issues with Abrahamists is that they will pull this thing of, I'm going to pray for you. And right at the top of their list, the first thing they ask for is for you to suddenly be converted to their personal faith. And that's an extreme violation of my free will. And in the tradition that I'm in now, that's considered to be black magic.
well, spot on. You know,
So
there is so much misinformation in the definitions of many beings, gods, deities, angels. Well, let's go back to the presence of these beings. First things first, life on Earth is a multi-billion year project. And
yes.
so the first animals were able to emerge 350 million years ago when there were sufficient levels of oxygen, thanks to the trees. Humanity is far more ancient than these current distorted texts lead us to believe. We go back millions of years in many iterations. The whole purpose of this beautiful world is the evolution of the most resilient and intelligent and capable species amongst the stars. And so that is the mighty human. Iterations occur, lasting 10 to 12,000 years for each batch of us humans. The greatest amongst us who show sufficient levels of adaptability and growth are selected, and then there is a purge. We've got evidence of this in the last ice age and then the last great flood, and it just goes back over and over and over.
Not to interrupt you, I'm just going to interject real quick. David Wilcock, somebody in this community who a lot of people have really looked up to. Like, I remember, like, this is like 10 years ago, over a decade ago. He was talking about some of that same stuff, like what you're talking about now. And he's an investigative researcher, meaning sometimes he finds wrong information, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The guy found a lot of truth, and he was trying to do the right thing. I feel like the whole time, David Wilcock. But anyway, I just wanted to interject that and let you continue.
Absolutely. So coming closer to the current time, the evolution and engineering, because both are in play, of the human reached sufficient levels of complexity with regards to the physical form. And yet our energetic immunity required great improvement. This is when the governors of the universal matrix, the hologram, who are in charge of this experiment, guaranteed unnatural evolution, sent out a call to the worst of the worst across the cosmos. Hey, frickin' pirates, come party. Well, the objective was turning up the heat in the last iterations of the experiment so humanity could gain immunity to spiritual and energetic warfare. So many species entered the mix. Conditions of them entering was them submitting their genetic and energetic codes and for the game to commence. Now, amongst these are many species of gray, many types of reptilians, and of course, the Anunnaki that we are speaking of. And by the way, the Anunnaki are not just one species, they are an archetype of life. Many different branches of them exist. And it seemed the worst of the very worst were dispatched to Earth. Well, they enriched us. They are evolved to the fifth dimension, not higher. And so they are master over the astral realm. And so they have a great advantage compared to humanity, which is their legacy of technology. Their entrance occurred about 250,000 years ago. That is not very long. They entered this beautiful world and saw us living in nature in harmony in small tribes and thought to themselves, oh my God, we're going to rule this planet. We're going to be gods, which they did. They messed with our genome and the games begun. They had no idea what they were getting into. The mighty humans had billions of years of wisdom built into them. And so now we come to the current day where still elements of their belief systems exist. A very worthwhile research was conducted by a gentleman called Gerald Clark. And so
I knew him.
Yeah. And so he basically mapped out these family lines, family trees.
Mhm.
All the gods going back in ancient Egypt, ancient India, all the way to the current day, which are the Abrahamic religions. Some of these have basically been moved from one being to another. There are different religions, pardon me, there are different types or personalities of the same deity, modern deity. It seems that one family member retires and the other one picks up the mask and starts behaving completely differently. We see this in the Old Testament to the New Testament. Previous version was really bloodthirsty. The new one comes in and is kind of a little bit more lenient. So that is
Well,
not the big issue.
I saw the names. Some of them are titles, like Pharaoh was title. And you're
Correct.
not seeing the same individual over time. You're seeing the title with someone replacing them. And the humans underneath didn't know who was who.
Many still don't. But here comes the beauty of this whole mess. It looks like a mess, but there is sublime intention and purpose behind it. Well, the Anunnaki intermingled with humanity. And so, as a result of this, we inherited their brilliant engineering. Humanity had a different type of technology before the entrance of the Anunnaki. And now we see the result of this intermingling in the form of our technological prowess. So their engineering brilliance is now our engineering brilliance. And now we are awakening in mass, becoming completely immune. Our numbers are still few, but this is an irreversible process. And so this also is true with all the other parasitic species. Collectively, I like to call them the frickin' pirates, because they have harvested humanity every way which, including the insertion of the chakra system, harvesting of all sorts of vibrations of energy from the roots to the crown. This has given rise to a universal drug trade. And so these pirates are conducting this. This has manifestations in our leadership, how the world is ruled. And so, with the cost of great difficulty and a impedance in our evolution, we have very much so earned immunity against these beings. Now is the time where this all comes to an end, including the Anunnaki. So it seems that the gentle wisdom of the beloved source was to send these guys to Earth. They have a chance at evolution like every other being. And so yet they misbehaved very badly. they are going to be removed conclusively. And as they have worked in the shadows, not many know of them. So as they disappear, it will be as if they never existed. And yet humanity has benefited from their presence over the past 250,000 years. And not just in forms of technology, but also immunity in energetic structure towards energy warfare, astral warfare. So we are at the end of the grand experiment. Humanity is ready. So as the Matrix is ready to roll out over the next 3 centuries, so will the frickin' pirates. They're going to be given a fair chance to rejoin the path of divine evolution or be burnt to such a degree for what remains to serve the highest good of all once again. And so we are then stepping into the new golden age. Right now, it is upon us to refuse the next cyclical, let's say, wipeout or reset of humanity. It's right about time now. And we say no. Enough is enough. We are ready and we are strong. No more extinction events. And so there's distortion in who these Anunnaki are. They are not very evolved, limited to the 5th dimension, brilliant at technology. And now the topic of archangels. Well, it seems that these are not exactly who they say they are either. Angelic beings reside in the realm of primordial light, above all dimensionality. They have a hand in creation. And so the ones that are doing their job, they take guidance and direction from the source of all things. And then we come down to some other entities appearing angelic, who are not yet as evolved as the Anunnaki. These are not the real deal. And so the safest bet is to disregard all of it. We do not need assistance from any race being, and we are immune to their deception and to their trickery. All we need is to remember who we are. We are shards of the beloved source of all things in these vessels. And as a result, we have all the attributes of the beloved source. All that is required is removal of shackles, remembering, and reestablishing the knowledge of the truth that we are never separate from source. All the rest is illusion.
So I have a question in terms of how it all fits together. And hello, everybody. In terms of the way John Whitberg kind of describes it is that he says, think about like the Draco reptilian empire or whatever incarnation or form it's in now as like being, say, the United States on the whole globe. And that's more like the rest of the galaxy. And then the Draco would say occupy the U.S. And then within the Draco sphere of control, which would be, say, the U.S., the Jahangiri or Anunnaki occupy a sphere within their control, say Wisconsin, okay, and then say the Earth and the solar system specifically would be like Madison, Wisconsin, and so it almost seems like the pecking order would be like humans, and then like the Anunnaki, and then maybe the Greys are under them, and then and they're also enslaved. And everyone's enslaved under the Draco.
It's important to bring up like the Draco and how we're under their foot. So I just want to bring up something that might seem a little bit off topic, but also it is on topic. I had an altar come out yesterday, new one. His name is Henry Hitchens. And I was thinking about the allocation of resources going on through the natural disasters that are happening. I was thinking about that and how messed up it was. And he came to me in my mind. He's like, you just don't realize what's at stake, dude, and why they're doing this stuff. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, the Draco have complete control over our part of the galaxy, the universe, and then underneath them are the Anunnaki. We are nothing. He's like, everything that I'm a part of, you're a part of, this whole effort to over-colonize the galaxy for humanity, It's an act of self-defense so we can survive. They would get rid of us if we didn't do this. He's like, it is absolutely necessary for us to do this. To like be like brutal colonizers, as you say it. Because that's the way I look at it. I mean, I look at some of the stuff and I do see it as just evil. And it's like, you just don't understand, man. They would just, we have to be like the Draco. We have to emulate them. We have to be like them in order to conquer them. I know. And I was like, dude, you sound pretty brainwashed to me. I wasn't agreeing.
And first of all, a lot of the stuff that is attributed to the Draco is actually the Jahangiri doing it and blaming it on the Draco. There's a lot of that. I've had past lives as both. The Draco have honor. The Jahangiri do not.
Which is something that I experienced as well. I have talked about it in my testimony. And so another thing is that you might have seen the description of the video. And this is something that I'm very intentionally bringing up because I'm a bit confused about it. If you look up the Anunnaki, you'll see this depiction of bird people, which looks like my people. I'm going to be real with you. That looks like what we look like. Kind of think that's us. Kind of think that's we, right? And then I see
Anunnaki was a group. It was bird people, cat people, dog people, reptilians, and Jahangiri.
I remember it too.
And the Jahangiri are the ones that are taking credit for everything, and they gradually got rid of everybody else on the planet, and they took over, and then they literally had a nuclear war to decide which of them was going to rule the place. They have had so many nuclear wars on their own homeworld that 80% of their males are sterile now, and now they're looking at us as how they're going to
And I
survive.
do know that constantly a thing that we're avoiding in our timeline. We're avoiding apocalypse. Well, apocalypse absolutely means like transformation experience, but we're avoiding like end game scenarios. Like I've seen, like, I'm going to use the word loosely, but like I've seen like zombie apocalypses, like all sorts of different other timelines. I remember go a lot differently.
You know, guys, I have talked about that I'm bloodline and that my family, the family, have been informing me of what they're planning to do.
That's right.
I've tried to share that with the public, and people are like, I'm out of my mind. Their plan is to eliminate everyone who is RH positive. And even though I'm from that family, I'm RH positive. So they're informing me they're going to kill me.
Well, that's been the
now. I need you guys to understand. I'm in the position of I'm supposed to be telling everybody else that their lives are in danger, and nobody believes me because they think that I'm in ego. I'm not. I'm in panic. I can't stop this by myself. Their goal is literally to eliminate 85% of the population.
Well, hey, guess what, Penny? You know what their goal was with the Native Americans? It was to get rid of all of them, get rid of their entire culture, get rid of their language. How's that been going for them? They didn't do it. They didn't succeed. Like, let's be real. These people are psychopaths. The shit that they want to do is psychopathic. It's clear as day. We see it. We are all traumatized by it. Let's be real.
Well, I sent Brian a video in email. I don't know if he's watched it or not, but that was by a whistleblower talking about the exact plans for next year.
Well, look at their plans, though. They have their, what do they have? Their Project 2025. Now it's Project 2030.
It was Agenda. It was Agenda 21 and then Agenda 2030, and then the other side, the Heritage Foundation did Project 25, which is
out the way that they expected to, or not coming out the way they projected them to be. And a big part of this, Penny, everybody is a part of the fact that within
Like
the
I
intelligence
said, nobody
community,
wants to hear what I have to say. They want to talk over me.
I'm not trying to talk over you. I apologize. But I just want to bring up a point that with the internet, the tool that we're
You don't
talking
want to
about,
believe that they have the capability of pulling it off. Yes, I get it. Nobody wants to believe that they have the capability of pulling it off. And yet, we had lockdowns 4 years ago.
So,
but yeah, at the same time, we fought against that. Look at what happened.
Mhm.
They're pushing back super hard. One of the
like
big
to-
world events was that trucker convoy, which we're not supposed to talk about this, so we can't use certain buzzwords. But we got guys that are going to prison over that now. So the fight isn't over.
Yeah, the guy that led that particular movement in Canada is going to prison now. It went through X yesterday.
Yeah, but
So-
what I'm trying to say is we can
Let's
fight
look
back.
at the picture
It's looking
differently.
grim, but every revolution, yes, we look death in the face and look and think we might die.
But you
There's a good
have
chance we're going to
to
die,
look
but you have
at
to
it.
try.
You have
Yes.
to look
Yeah.
at it. You can't
True.
You
Now
can't
let's-
bury your head in the sand. All that does is leave your ass out in the air for you to get attacked.
And I wasn't
Well,
trying to talk over you, Penny. I was just trying to give examples of situations where we've fought back and had minor victories. I wouldn't say we won because it's like battles and it's a war. We haven't won yet, but and I do think there was something else I was going to try to say, but I'm spacing out on it. But I do think it's important, like I said, like it's important to recognize, like you said, like they want to do another reset, and these things. This is very grim, and the powers that they have are very.
The situation is grim, and we have to get off our butts and do something about it and stop infighting over it.
So let's add some more to the picture. So we have an opposition hell-bent on remaining in power, as they have
Exactly.
for so long. Now, this is changing. The way forward is completely organic.
The way forward has been accomplished by people
Please
with
allow me to
psychic
speak. I
ability.
waited for you to finish. Okay, thank you so much. So, what is happening to humanity is that we are becoming resilient. None of these beings have a physical footprint. Their empire is the empire of the mind. And so, if we follow blindly like zombies, then we are susceptible. As awakened beings, we have the capability now to undo what they set in motion energetically and physically. So the last, let's say, plague took many of us. And now we have acquired herd immunity. The same thing that took so many is now less potent than the common cold. So let's look at the might of the mighty humans. We are ready for our freedom, not just freedom, but to take our rightful place among the stars. So these people, these beings that are not all the same, that have great infighting, that have struggles between themselves, are losing their source of energy as more of us become aware. We protect ourselves, we protect our loved ones, and we spread truth. As we awaken, we become truly immune. They're losing source of energy, which is humanity. As their source of energy is drying up, they are throwing tantrums, more and more desperate and aggressive plots, which keep getting rolled back, delayed, and rolled back. Finally, we're going to observe them cannibalizing each other, as freaking pirates always do. So there is so much hope at the end. We are not doomed. They are.
This kind of lines up with some testimony that I have where basically I went back to Appleton. It wasn't the most recent time, but the time before that. And I knew they were very much so harassing me and screwing with me. And I have these memories, and it's kind of blurry, but I really do think it did happen. And the memory was there was a Draco, an Alpha Draco queen on a throne, and I portaled near her, and I chopped her head off. I did that. Like, I chopped her head off, and I grabbed it, and then I portaled out of there again, because this version of me can do that, open portals. And I portaled onto, there was like this Illuminati family they were eating. I've talked about this more than once. And I all of a sudden, I'm standing on their table, like standing on it. They're all eating with this head of this Draco queen. And I'm saying to them, this is your God. This is who you worship. And I just killed them. Who are you going to worship now? And I was saying this in like light language, like an awasnishna wani wekna isna wana waha wane isna wa. And I remember that I just said all this stuff to them. I said, this is your God. This is who you worship. And now you're all going to want what they had. You realize the vacuum and power. And now you're all going to fight to fill that vacuum and power. You're going to be the snake eating its head. You will all kill each other to have what she had. And because of that, you'll never have it. And I said, I'm going to laugh and laugh and laugh watching you all kill each other. And I felt them. They had a security team that was coming, and I knew I had to jump back through that portal fast, and I did. But I told them I threw a head on their fucking table. I remember the way it looked. White Queen Draco. I remember her throne. I remember it all. This shit sounds crazy. I know. It sounds insane. But where would it come from? Where would these memories come from? Why would they just implant this shit in my brain? I remember how angry I was. I left Appleton to escape their bullshit, and I came back to visit my family who I love, and they were trying to punish me for that. And I said, no, not anymore. Not anymore. And I told them, I can open portals and go anywhere. Anywhere. That's where you fucking kidnapped me. It's because I can open a fucking portal, a gateway, and go anywhere at any time. I told them, what makes you think that this was going to go good for you? Kidnapping me and using me as a piece of military equipment. I remember what happened. What do you think? I'm going to keep helping you? I'm going to help your little cause and help the fucking tragedies that you've built upon and the lives you've ruined? What the fuck do you think I'm going to do with my power now that I can take it back? And that's what we're in right now. So, like, I understand. These people want to cause a reset. They want to fucking kill everybody. They're fucking dangerous, and it's time to act like it. I get that. That is super duper fucking serious. It's time to stop playing games, acting like they're going to be star gods coming in and saving us, worshiping certain presidents and shit like that. No. It's up to fucking us. Big time. Big time. Because they're always going to find an excuse to come right back in. We need to understand that we have the power to overwhelm their bullshit. Our government is going on national television right now and telling people there are aliens, there are spacecraft, there are government programs working with aliens. The public and how they respond to that determines our future. And I right now, it's outside of our community, it's pretty fucking lackluster. Like, they're literally people going on TV who are part of the Department of Defense who are saying, we have alien technology. All the stuff that we've been saying for 3 or 4 years. And what is... People are still watching The View. What is going on right now? What is happening? Like, I just... Sorry, that was... I don't mean to rant, and I'll pass the microphone to anybody, but, like, my whole message is, like, this is crazy, the times we're living in, and it takes a lot of tenacity, a lot of, like, breaking through mind control, a lot of, like, bringing people with us that a lot of them reluctantly, they don't want to come, but look at what's happening with Diddy. Look what's happening with all this, like, mediocre ground level stuff that's building up. It's building up to what we're talking about, all right? That's the thing I want to remember, people, is we forget about time. We forget about how it doesn't happen overnight. But the thing is, and I understand Penny is worried, is what if these people try to hit the switch again like they did in the past and end it all overnight? My hope and the thing that I have that is just, we can never predict the future or what these people can do, but the thing that I have that's hopeful for me is the fact that I actually think the response that we had, like, yeah, a lot of people bent over, took it, fucking, it wasn't the best response on a lot of people's part, but I know for a fact that a lot of people said no. They said no, and I know that the world we are in, literally right now, I'm not talking about the future, I'm talking about now. People said no, and the future that we're living in now, the present we have now is better because of all the people that said no, like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, or whatever. So that's why I believe that if we talk about the stuff now and highlight it now and are realistic about it now, that's why I believe maybe the future doesn't have to be this dystopian thing and also it's important we talk about this because let's face it, there are people in the community who say the Anunnaki are the angels, the gods, and they're going to save us all and stuff. And that's what I'm hearing I want to talk about. And I want to be realistic about the fact that this is dangerous shit. And even in our own community, we have problems. But also, I think there's a lot of hope and that there's something that we can do. And us as like Penny, you, me, Amir, and like people in the community who I think more people are listening to us than we realize. And as events play out, some of the stuff that we say that people are not necessarily maybe listening to as much as we would like to right now or whatever, as events play out, people are going to be like, well, wait a minute. I kind of think that. And I think that, yes, we have to be realistic and understand that the future is kind of scary sometimes, but it's up to, I don't know. I just don't want to accept that these guys can come in again and cause some sort of another like extinction event. Like I think we're more powerful than that. I think like it doesn't make any sense for me to be here right now and talk, and you, Penny, to be here right now and talk and all this stuff. Like if they were so omnipotent and controlled everything, like how the hell are we even on the internet talking about this stuff? Like I just don't accept the fact that it's endgame. They're gonna reset things all over again. I believe, and this was what I was gonna say earlier, I forgot. The internet. This is a national security thing. This was made by the government. It was made by the DoD, the internet. They were initially using it to communicate through scientists and stuff like that for the Department of Defense. And then they leaked it kind of publicly to like scientists and stuff like that. And then the public got a hold of it. And what it was is it was one of those things where they assumed, because they're not allowed to talk about things. All right? I'm telling you, as somebody who was at Montauk and all these things, time travel projects, I've seen it all. Nobody was allowed to talk about the internet and where it actually came from. And everybody just assumed, oh, well, it's a part of the plan. One of those things where I can't ask you, you can't ask me. Cool. And now we have the internet. Now we're all talking about UFOs and aliens and shit. It wasn't part of the plan. It was insiders. It was people. It was me, literally, as a Montauk person, giving certain people information, leaking it to them, and them not even remembering it and stuff like that. Like, this is our chance, our opportunity right now. And you know what? They are going to try to shut it down. They are going to try to shut down the internet and control everything, but we have a chance right now. And I'm done ranting. I'm sorry. I want to be hopeful. I get screwed with these people a lot. They fuck up my life. And I see the world around me, and I see how they brainwash people. And believe me, I feel hopeless sometimes, but I just feel like also, and I promise I'm going to shut up, it's just like what we literally saw 4 years ago, that people will say no to stuff. I wasn't even one of the people who said no. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm with you guys now, but at the time I was like, whoa, well, they're going to help us. It's all great. And I went along with the program. So what does that tell you? Look at me now, running a YouTube channel, talking to people, telling people, look at the statistics, look at, which we have to, what are we even talking about? People have to guess. We can't explicitly say it. But still, people know what we're talking about, and people know to question now. It's just like that event, yes, unfortunately, there are still the people who really blindly went along with it, but there's a lot of people who would have probably still been in the dark, still in the cave, still really not knowing what's going on, and because of that event and how just explicitly fucked up it was. Let's be real. It was just, there was so much just out in the open psyops going on, psychological operations, right? That everybody is just like, they understand this is a thing now. Psychological operations, not word for words. That's not what it is. It's words. It's thoughts. It's feelings. Like, that's what's going on now. That's what we're contending with. But the thing is, I'm saying is we can fight back and we can win. And I have to shut up now. I'm sorry. I went on a big rant there. I'm sorry. Anybody else who wants to just add to that or whatever, argue against it, anything, I gotta let somebody else talk about it. I'm sorry.
Well, I think a lot of what you and Penny especially are saying are on the same lines. Penny is giving the warning in a very explicit way as bloodline and getting it directly from her relatives. And she knows that they're serious. And then at the same time, we all know that as dangerous and as serious as these people are, and as much damage as they've done to the human race up to now, that this time we're not going to let that happen, but we do need to be vigilant. And these people are still very dangerous. Having said that, earlier you all mentioned that it might be the Anunnaki or Jahangiri, and some of them might even be reptilian Anunnaki, who are kind of blaming their misdeeds on the Draco reptilians. So then, given the title of the show is about who are the Anunnaki, my question is when we talk about the royal families and David Icke talks about the reptilian energies, are those bloodline Anunnaki Jahangiri, or is that bloodline Draco reptilian, or is there some kind of interbreeding gamush of all three in there?
The royal bloodlines are Anunnaki. They are descended from Enki through Cain. Cain was not first murderer. Cain was first human king in Sumer. He's on the king's list. They spelled it Cain rather than Cain. And they lay claim to he is the founder of their bloodline. And that it because the kingship was descended to him in Anunnaki speak. That is where they got the divine right of kings, was because they inherited it through that bloodline. And that bloodline split and went both directions, east and west. There, for thousands of years, almost every king, every royal house in Eurasia was from this bloodline. They even infiltrated the Hebrew royal house through intermarriage. But they are Anunnaki. They are Jahangiri. They are not reptilians. I don't shapeshift. I'm second cousin to Charles.
Well, can I ask you something here?
I don't believe he shapeshifts. I believe that Arizona Wilder was on LSD and imagined it.
Well, I've seen people shapeshift, like in our community. Like I've seen Susan Long shape into her kind of more Lyran form, just briefly, right in front of me, while I was hanging out with her.
Is she from the royal house? I've never asked her, so I don't know.
Probably got blood. She might even be in the chat right now. But I'm starting to think that, like, just because you basically what I'm getting is just because you shapeshift, I don't think means like you're a bad person or something. And I think that's a more complicated thing than people are talking about.
People don't understand complicated. People understand reptilian, I'm scared.
Yeah, that is all too often the case.
That's 95% of them that I interact with. Reptilian, I'm scared. They're evil. They're demons.
There's
You talk about them, you're a demon.
yeah.
This is my reality. I catch it
well too.
every day. If I had $1 for every idiot out there that called me a demon, I could buy a house in California.
Yeah. And the altars too, it doesn't help too. They think the same thing about altars.
Exactly. I was subjected to weekly exorcism through the Episcopal Church for 2 solid years because I had altars. It's a mental health condition. It's not a demon. Now, there are certain physical realities to this situation. And spiritualizing everything isn't going to help. Making it all pie in the sky, oh, we're going to beat them, isn't going to help. If you don't plan to win, you're going to lose. I mean, Brian, you run a business, you know that. You plan to win or you lose.
That's what the disclosure movement really is about, is to ensure humanity and Earth succeeds by liberating us with the truth. And that puts us, that gives us a lot more power to be able to cut through the lies and shape our own timeline the way we want to. And that's the best plan I can put together with everyone else right now.
You remember East Palestine, Ohio, where they set the fire on purpose and they turned the vinyl chloride into dioxin, and the storm at the time carried it over Quebec province, and it carried it over New England and as far south as New York City. One of these relations of mine told me flat out, point blank, in writing, not enough of you guys took the shot. So now we're going to poison the land so you can't grow food. This is what we're up against. And saying humanity's going to be immune to it, well, that may work for 300 years from now if there's any survivors short term. But it's not going to work short term. We don't have time to get immune to the most deadly, persistent chemical there is on the planet. Now, I'm sorry if this seems unreasonable to you guys, but this is the reality I'm looking at, and I'm not seeing anybody planning to beat this.
Well, here's one side of the story. I grew up going on InfoWars from the local computer at the high school. Okay, and by now, according to their whole schedule, we're supposed to all have real IDs, like chips and stuff, and they're just.
I have a real ID. It's on my driver's license. California requires it.
Well, we're about to get it required, but the thing that I'm trying to say is this was supposed to happen a decade ago. This was all supposed to happen forever ago, and I just feel like, yeah, we got to be realistic, but we also have to understand that a big part of their spell is giving them power psychologically. It's they're in control because we let them be in control, and it's very complicated. There's a lot of ins and outs to that, but also it's simple. They're in control because we let them be in control. We allow them to do it. Anyway, welcome to the conversation, Drago. We had some problem. The links wasn't working. I sent them the links. I don't know what's going on. Probably some interference, but welcome to the show, Drago. How are you doing?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, every time I would click on the link, the first time I clicked on it, the link literally just disappeared. And I took screenshots on my Facebook, and then you would send the other link, and it wouldn't come through at all. So it's been a freaking nightmare, man. I just kind of been sitting here and watching. So I'm glad I'm on.
Well, what's your commentary here? You've been watching the whole thing.
I haven't been watching the whole thing. I've been trying to figure this out. I got to get out and get into Facebook, and I've been trying to text you guys, but like,
Well, to catch you up, we're basically talking about how they want to do another reset event, and you know, some of the pie in the sky ideas that people have about the Anunnaki, and you know how everything's gonna be all groovy and everything's all good, but also the same time I don't know, just like we're just talking about, I guess, like the future of how things are gonna play out, and whether people are gonna be able to accept and face reality when it comes to this or not, sort of, I guess. What is your experience with the Anunnaki, and your opinion on them, and I guess their connection to the archangels? I mean, maybe it's kind of cool, like, that you weren't here for the entire conversation, because maybe we can kind of give it a refreshing perspective on things.
let me just say something about the Great Reset. I believe that that's Egyptian in nature, connected directly to the Anunnaki, and it's directly connected to Set. And Set initiated certain rules that would happen. There was a Sumerian tablet called Enki and the World Order. In that tablet, it talked about how they would subjugate humanity and how they would actually do it over time. So, like the New World Order, Enki and the World Order, it's all the same thing. That's why we see the Anunnaki in the Dums and Project Ibis. This is why they're always coming up with the secret space program. No matter what you do, you always see the Anunnaki. And you guys were talking about earlier how the Dracos are kind of involved. Like, the Draco is actually married into the Anunnaki lineage in order to kind of have that bridge between the two families of the Anunnaki and the Draco to basically have the Earth domain. So the Anunnaki was leased directly by the Draco, and they had to do that by marriage. So they actually married into the Anunnaki. And this is why you hear one of the, I always forget who it is, Enki or Enlil, one of their wives is actually reptilian. It's actually Draco. So that's how they do it. It's a marriage bloodline.
That's Enki.
That's what I thought.
Although, if you ask Michael Lee Hill, she's Pleiadian.
Yeah, me and Michael, we had that kind of discourse when I interviewed him on my podcast.
One thing I want to ask about, which is something that theoretically I should have more information on, is what is well, I guess I have a little bit of information on it. I shouldn't gaslight myself. There's a connection between the bird people and the reptilian people, and you see it on like King Tut's like crown. Like, there's the snake, and then there's the bird. And I'm just curious, like, coming from others like Amir, Penny, Drago, Brian, like whoever, like, what do we know historically about the connection between like the bird and the snake when it comes to the Anunnaki?
The bird is the usual representation of Enlil. Most cultures, he is represented with an eagle, but it can be any bird. And Enki's tribe is represented by reptilians, usually the cobra, sometimes others. There are some who believe that Enki himself, because his mother was reptilian, that he turned out in Naga form. And some of the really ancient art seems to hold with that. And since Shiva is an aspect of him, Shiva is sometimes represented as a multi-headed snake.
Yes, so the symbology is very, very common. Egypt, India, South America, these are repeated. And so by the time of history that we're speaking about, they pretty much have taken over. So their grip on humanity is almost complete.
Well, so I was going to talk about, and my plan for this show was that there is a group of starseeds, for lack of a better term, who are working with the Galactic Authority and finding ways to put some of these ETs on trial for violation of the galactic laws, for violating the Prime, which is a set of laws regarding how advanced cultures interact with primitive ones. And regardless of what our religions teach us, we're a primitive people. And we are under the protection of the guardians for that reason, because we are a primitive people. And most of the Jahami who were here and enslaving Homo sapiens have been tried and convicted. All but one of the ones who were tried have been executed, and that one is basically under house arrest. That would be Marduk, and he's under house arrest at Pine Gap Base, which is an NSA base in Australia, and you can find that on any website that talks about it. And he had his base underneath it, the NSA built on top of him on purpose. And he is now trapped in that base underneath there. And he was fitted with a bomb in his head. If he should violate again, he will be executed. So the top layer of these dudes, and I say dudes because there might have been 5 females out of the 1,000 that were here. But, you know, these dudes have all been facing accountability for enslaving us.
Yes.
Now, the layers of hierarchy beneath them here have also been being attacked by this same set of starseeds.
I would like to confirm this.
I
Spot
am part of that set. So I'm speaking from direct personal knowledge. I was part of the action. So things are being done that the vast majority of the public has no clue is even happening. We are taking out the layers of extraterrestrials. And that's why for the last 5 years or so, you have the elites are doing all sorts of things at once. It's like they're running around with their head cut off, because they have had an overwhelming telepathic connection with an extraterrestrial their entire lives. Something that is so loud in their head that they can't hear themselves think. Something that will appear in their house and take their children, and they're not allowed to born that child because it's an honor for the ET to eat it. This is the way these people have been living for thousands of years. And suddenly those ETs are gone. And yeah, they've gone batshit. And they suddenly think they're going to act up and become the new gods. It ain't going to happen. But the people out here in the public need to start planning so that when these people are taken out, it doesn't just collapse into a new dark ages. And that takes planning. That takes work. Otherwise, okay, I used to live in a neighborhood in Fresno that the local government had abandoned. This place was so bad that the Bloods and the Crips were having warfare in the street in front of my house. And what happened was that power vacuum was filled by the mafia. So people that talk to me, sometimes the mafia are the good guys. But most people don't want to hear that. This is where I'm coming from, is if you don't want the mafia taking over in the vacuum, you better plan for somebody else to be doing it. And by the way, all of our politicians have been approved by the elites. All of them, even Trump. So you're going to have to start with a whole fresh crop. Now, you're going to have to start planning for that, working towards it. It won't happen on its own.
Do you think that there's a possibility that they're, like, with some of the stuff that we're going on with these secret space programs where we get taken and we're being used for very nefarious purposes, do you think it's possible where there might be some effort behind the scenes to unify and rally against this force? Like, what if there is something going on? Is kind of my question. Do you think that's possible? Because I think it might be.
Something going on where? With the SSP or with Earth?
Yeah, with the like, I have certain memories of things where it seems like there's some sort of effort to create a new government, new Earth, I think. And the whole thing that they're doing, which lines also with Audrey, Audrey Walters, lines up with her testimony.
Yeah, I met her at the conference.
I
met her at Drago's house.
we remember sort of similar things at the same time. And the big thing is they think we're consenting to all this. And what we have been explaining in courts is that their consent is an skewed definition, which is being used to take advantage of people. And so that's been like the huge thing we're trying to argue in court. And then there are forces who already don't want to allow certain things to happen, like apparently. And I'm saying it all, I guess, sort of hypothetically because I don't want to state anything as fact, but I wouldn't put it out there if it wasn't from pretty reliable sources. As, like, for instance, like the AI timeline with the black AI pyramid, which I've seen personally. Apparently there's a lot of ETs that are out there that we've met with who they haven't come in to save the day, so to speak, yet, but they're already like, we don't want that to happen because it causes problems for them. And so
yeah, the whole AI black goo timeline, the planet will be sterilized to stop that. So that is a death timeline.
So you are in agreement that they're not going to allow that to happen.
They're not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
They'll kill all of us. They'll destroy the whole world to stop that.
Yeah, because that happened in other timelines, and not them killing us all, just that timeline. I've seen it. Hello, Darkness, my old friend. Sandra, Sergeant Stan Mulgrave. Sergeant Gunnery Stan Mulgrave wrote that song, and it's about the Black Pyramid and the AI future and all that stuff. So,
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen, fortunately.
My memories of the black goo are just... I was sharing my body with it, and it was in charge. I remember most of what happened then, but it was required for the position that I had. So you can't be a navigator unless you've used the black goo because you're not smart enough. And that was the only way they knew to get smart enough to do the job. And they wanted humans doing it because they really didn't want an ET running around on the ship.
I think this is why the Draco actually told everyone to knock off, and they wanted everybody to receive all the nanites and black goo, and that's why they wanted a Draco liaison on each one of their ships, because again, that marriage between the Anunnaki, was a partnership.
I functioned as a liaison sometimes, depending on the ship, whether they had a Draco or not, because I was modified with Draco DNA and I have Draco past lives.
It's easy to describe the nanites like it's basically kind of like you're a rental car, and then you have this driver that takes you 1,000 miles an hour, hitting everything and everyone and all the way, and basically there's no say in it. It's basically someone taking your body, remote piloting it, and like it's commanding you what to do, and you're doing what it tells you to do. There is no telling it no. If you fight it, it'll break through your programming. It'll activate other alters.
It's like
It can send you into a psychosis if you don't.
it's like running on pure instinct and nothing else. Sort of. Does that make
Like
sense?
a baser instinct, kind of like fight or flight, like a lot of aggression. A lot of
And
that side effect is extreme.
More intelligent, like as far as responding to things and combat, things like that. But emotionally and stuff like that, you might as well be an idiot. It doesn't necessarily equate to everything as far as intelligence, but it does make you less empathetic and more logical.
Yeah.
Imagine the Sith. It basically turns you into a Sith. It turns you into a calculating, left-brained, almost reptilian, calculating machine, and life is not part of what its projection of its mission is. So,
Well, I keep telling y'all I'm a Darth. You haven't listened.
the entire Star Wars story is talking about the Darth and the Star Wars system, and how even Nachtwaffen uses the red laser swords, and like
I
they copied all of it.
I find the story of Anakin very familiar to me and my trauma twin, because I basically was very evil, and but in the motivation, like doing what the programs wanted me to do to be able to be with who I loved and thinking it was the right thing or whatever. And there's kind of that scene in Star Wars where she finds out he killed like younglings and did all these messed up things, and he's like, "Oh, but it's to be with you," and she's like, "That makes it worse." Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I sort of had that with my trauma twin, where like it was like, "Oh, I did this, this, and that. I'll do anything to be with you." And she's like,
I got transferred off of Mars because I was freaking out that my trauma twin was being eaten by raptors. Even with the black goo, I still responded that way.
Yeah, I remember a big problem that they had with Montauk was I would always try to break her out and do crazy stuff to try to break her out, my trauma twin. So their whole solution was just to get rid of her, transfer over to a different.
I don't know if my trauma twin was at Montauk. I know he was at Langley.
But I do feel just that Amir has something to say right now.
I'm looking at the involvement of certain humans in these programs. It is much more than just the physical body that is important. Penny, for example, you were given the role of navigator. This is very much so a soul property. There are things that cannot be achieved computationally. It needed to be you. Absolutely. And so again, although you have experienced unimaginable trauma, you as a infinite soul are having the last laugh through what you are doing here and now. Illumination, healing, strategy, preparation. And that is perhaps the reason that a specialist soul like you was brought into this universe. All of you wonderful people on this panel, this is the story. And so you earlier mentioned that certain elements of the ruling class have been eliminated. I've also seen this paralleled many times over. So you mentioned the need for preparation and strategy. That is absolutely true. At least now, at this stage, with the removal of certain elements of the, let's call them the collective of the frickin' pirates, and also removal of certain technological restraints, humanity has a fair chance Nobody is going to carry us. Nobody is going to save us. It is upon us to do this for ourselves.
Exactly. We have to do it ourselves. Nobody's going to come save our asses.
True. But at least
And
now,
that's exactly what the Farsight Institute says. They've done a lot of remote viewing about like the Galactic Federation and stuff, and like there's a lot of misinformation going around about these people coming to save us, and it's all basically a psyop. They've had 30,000 years to come save us. They could have saved us 500,000 years ago when they violated and stole the Emerald Covenant, and they installed slavery and modified us. And like, this is what pisses me off about the Anunnaki, the ones that are portraying the Anunnaki as these good beings. What have they done that's good? Make me a list of what they have done that's not good, that's not usury or modifying us or manipulating us in some way. Like, Yahweh was directly responsible. If you just add the Book of Jubilee, the Bible, and a couple of other books, he was responsible for over 25 million deaths.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, within 600 years of them establishing Eridu, we had become bellicose and we were like acting like children. He wanted to wipe us out. So like, they've had their symbols all throughout humanity. We were talking earlier about the eagle, and I wanted to bring up some symbolism real quick. So the eagle and the serpent is Anunnaki. It is directly derived from them. And the word Vatican means the house of the serpent, which the Pope even has the serpent on his chest plate and carries the sun staff, which is a symbol of Marduk, Amun Ra. And
have you taken a look at the place where he holds court? I mean, that's being inside the serpent's mouth.
I think it's something called like the Serpent Hall or something like that. They call it like the music hall. But even the entire shape of outside that, if you see it from Google GPS, it's the shape of a freaking snake head. So that tells you that the Vatican is derived of the Enkites. Marduk was his son. Marduk was the previous kind of ruler, but it went throughout history. The eagle, it was in Atlantis. The eagle was in Sumeria. It was known as Ahura Mazda in Turkey. And then you see it comes into Rome, and you see the Anunnaki are running Rome. Then you see the eagle comes to America with basically the Freemasons / Anunnaki created it. So like, we are an Anunnaki created country. The state of Israel was created in 1947 because they were claiming they are the direct descendants of the Anunnaki from the Caucasus Mountains. So that's why they basically took eminent domain over Palestine. And that's why they say you can do all these things, because if you think about the United States, like just our senators and congressmen, it's being ran by Israel. This whole country is being ran by Israel at the highest levels. Like, you look at just the names, they're connected all throughout BlackRock, Vanguard, all throughout the United States. Like, it's getting to the point where you can predict the next president by looking into their genealogy. If they're not connected to the Anunnaki, the John Lackland Planchette bloodline, they will never win.
That's my bloodline.
Yeah, so basically,
I'm eighth cousin to these people.
That's like this like racist conspiracy theory, and I get it. I get people's fears of that, but there's a literal girl like who did the presentation on this.
Yeah, her name was Bridget de Savignon.
Yeah, and it's like people are like, that's the racist part, is the fact they're doing that. Not
why is there no lawsuit? Why is there no class action lawsuit against the United States that they've installed bloodline rule since 1776, except for one Dutch guy?
Pay attention. Obama was from that bloodline too.
Correct, cousin of that little girl.
It's because.
And a certain German guy with a funny mustache.
Yeah.
So it goes deep, and it doesn't necessarily necessitate skin color or anything, but they have this.
Like I said, they have divine right to rule because they're descended from Cain.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what color they are.
That's good.
It doesn't matter what color they are, because the Asians and the Europeans are from the same family.
Yep, that's a Khan line, the Genghis Khan line in Asia.
Yes, exactly.
I think I have some of that.
Do you know
I've got
I
that
have
funny back mark.
some of Genghis Khan in mine? It came up on my ancestry DNA.
I believe it. Well, I wanted to ask Amir because about the bloodlines, more of the light side, and then just to end cap what Arkheim was saying. I call, and many people call those the Khazarian mafia, who are masquerading as another group, which they're not really. But Dr. Amir, you're doing amazing work in our community, and many people are coming to you having survived the programs and experienced military abductions and negative ET abductions and the like. But then it sounds like you're also doing a lot of work with light workers who may have been on, having to work under the dark side, but in a way got to do some good work as infiltrators and help to position us more on a positive footing in, say, this timeline that we can work with. Can you speak to that?
Thank you so much. Absolutely. There is an absolute need to be anchored in this reality within a human body. And so therefore, this whole idea of bloodlines and the importance of it. Those who wish to be in the game must be in body. And so many souls, not all of them from this universe either, come in to restore balance. And so before we incarnate into bodies, the system knows who we are, what we are capable of. And so even before we are born, procedures and steps are taken, tagging certain individuals to be taken and recruited into these secret programs. Now, this is all known by the infinite soul also. So this is an act of hardship or sacrifice that these benevolent beings accept. Okay, I'm going to be born and exposed to tremendous hardship, and yet all along I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So as their incredible gifts or consciousness technology beyond what is available to the Draco or the Anunnaki, these guys are not evolved beyond the sixth dimension. They are not evolved. They are bullies. They are not evolved. And yet the mighty human, which remembers whom and what they are, has direct connection all the way through the dimensions to the source of all things. That is what they seek. And they have tried to sample it and replicate it through all sorts of mechanisms, and they fail. So the vast majority of people involved in these programs are incredible beings. With
That's
incredible
why they use us as portals, by the way. That's why they use us as portals. It's because they don't have that power on their own.
Absolutely. They require us. And so their mastery over Earth and humanity is a sabotage of the mind. Liberate the mind and humanity is free. And so there are different types of technologies used to reinforce these boundaries or shackles. Implants of all sorts, different sorts of impedance to the higher chakra system, preventing the light from the soul coming in the body, preventing the individual from remembering, suppression of memory, and so on, right? So these now our wonderful, the noble ancestors were aware of this. They didn't have our toys, but when it comes to spiritual warfare and the nature of reality, they were very advanced. One of the things that works incredibly conclusively to remove these shackles is shamanic methods. Now, although we have lost our common tongue, we do not even say the word mother the same way. But all of us, all tribes, have kept the drum. Now, the drum, in addition to intention, breaks these little bastards up. Once the mind is free, you can think clear, remember who you are. And then we are significantly more evolved than the vast majority of these beings. So, Brian, are these wonderful people forced into servitude? Yes, by all sorts of mechanisms, from nano implants to the goo to larger implants that mess with the cognitive processes. But the way forward is our destiny, evolution of humanity, eventually. So thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you asking this.
And I was going to ask, then, Amir, I wanted to see if maybe if you had any particular case studies on that where you see like someone who's like awakened and a transformation there, and how that on the micro kind of applies to us as a community on the macro.
Something that is common among super soldiers, without exception, this is the hallmark, is interference with the upper chakras. Many have devices placed over the crown, third eye, and jade gate. And then underneath this, it looks pretty much, I perceive it as a World War II German helmet. Once you lift this up, there are a whole host of sentient AIs implanted into the crown, third eye. They run interference. First thing is the calmness of the mind. So for meditation and connecting to the infinite soul, you require the monkey brain to be silent. These little bastards are just drumming out of sync and causing noise. Next thing is the quality of sleep. They mess with the sleep process and what you can get from the astral realm. And then, of course, the process of memory, not just 3D memory, but soul memory. Now, once these are removed, first effect is calmness, the removal of anxiety and agitation. Then the next thing is improved sleep, which then improves the health of the body. Pulling in light requires, so there are certain soul technologies that we all have. Healing, defense, many of us have interdimensional technology, portal technology, remote viewing, projection, and most importantly, creation through the third eye. Now, when the light coming in is reduced, system after system shuts down. The last one to go is our healing ability, and then the body starts getting ill. So these all return in sequence. And then the gates are opened. We start seeing, oh my God, I remember. Oh my God, I can read the Akashic records. Oh my God, I've got backups of my own design in the Divine Library of Life. So pretty common. Now, what I have also seen, that although these wonderful, powerful beings are subjected to incredible hardship and torture, quite literally, they still do what they're supposed to do. So someone comes in, healing the natural energetic grid of the planet. Another one is the avatar of a galactic central sun, actually pumping the energy into the planet. Our planet is also severely damaged. You see, when the Earth was at its prime, by the time a human would hit puberty, we would upload our entire soul memory. So it's not just us that is sabotaged. The Earth has been implanted with parasitic grids. Penny mentioned the removal of these beings. And so as a navigator, I've had the honor of seeing some like you. Although they were involved in the programs, through their gift of portal technology, they transported refugees, making sure that they survive all along, while the system and the whole freaking AI thought they had total control, that infinite wisdom was doing its own mission. And so I have tremendous hope towards balance. You see, too much light is also not good. Too much dark is also not good. We need perfect balance for us to then be able to choose to evolve, do the work to evolve.
I'm glad to hear you say that. That's one of the points at which I suddenly had this aha, was when I understood that physics and metaphysics merged at that point. It was at the quantum static field level. We have electric fields morph into magnetic fields, into electric fields, and that it stays at a completely neutral electricity, which means that it's an exactly 50-50 balance between electronics and magnetics. Now, electronics are the positive male, the magnetic is the negative female. And so you have to have that perfect balance. Now, we're not going to destroy the other polarity, but the closer we can get to non-polarized, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Spot on. The sacred balance. And so one of the fundamental laws of creation in this universe, at least, is polarity: light, dark, masculine, feminine. And so each are not good or evil; they are divine creation. And then between these two extreme poles, it is that creation is possible. And so when one pole gets too strong, it is an impedance in the flow of evolution of consciousness. Like what we see down here: too much masculine, too little feminine. Too much aggression, not enough compassion, and so on. So that balance is being restored in every way. Now, this gives me so much hope. Our journey ahead is bumpy. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. But at least
that's what I see too.
Now we have a chance. Oh, glory. At least now we have a fair chance. And it doesn't mean everybody's going to make it. No, some are going to fall.
Some have chosen to fall, and we can't take that choice from them. Just like some chose to go along with what was prescribed 4 years ago, we can't take that choice from them. And they were wrong to take the choice from us to not go along with it.
Agreed. Please also consider this, that certain human vessels are so strictly conditioned, they can't change. Right? This is not an easy task. And so it requires the end of one incarnation and for them to be born as children again, for them to have any kind of a chance. So this is by necessity going to be extended. It's not going to be a flip of a switch where suddenly everybody sings Kumbaya. That would not be fair either. It must be with respect to free will and the presentation of true facts, and so they can evaluate. And so some vessels, unfortunately, are far too damaged for them to even see clearly. They will hear your words, and it will sound like gobbledygook. They just don't get it. It's not the fault of the soul. The whole mechanism, the 3D vessel, is far too damaged. And so as the conditions are getting more balanced, also extensive healing is occurring to the earth. Certain technologies of slavery are being removed. Certain big players are being eliminated, causing chaos in the imbalance towards the restoration of balance. This is the golden age that I see very likely to occur.
I was going to ask, in terms of bringing about that golden age, you were speaking earlier to shamanic traditions and drums. In our community online, a lot of people have been talking about bells and chimes for dispelling the spirits. And I just wanted to speak about that because then Penny was talking about one of her wow moments is realizing that the metaphysics and the physics and how the magic and science, it's one, if you will, in uniting the light and the dark. And for me, it's kind of like along that vein of it becoming more real for us. I like to think of it as resonating or pounding or beating or playing an instrument here in the physical. It's just like as above so below. It's like us by playing a physical instrument or frequency here in the visceral third density. It's kind of like us reaching up to the higher densities, and it's helping to bridge that gap. And that's why, for the longest time growing up, when I was just trying to wrap my head around the occult or magical theory or the way things really work, it's like, well, why would a bell chase away a demon? That sounds silly. But now, more having an understanding that I do of like frequency and intention and how as above so below and vice versa, that understanding. And so I just wanted to say that for the audience, like if anyone's wondering, well, what's the big deal about the shamanic tradition and drumming, for example? That's one reason.
It's going to hierarchy of creation. if a certain spell is initiated in, let's say, the 10th dimension, you can't go bottom up. And so first there's the beloved source, then comes the primordial void. If one embodies the energy of the sacred primordial void through the path of Tantra, that is superior to all things. But that is not easy, and not all are welcomed in. But then we have primordial sound, superior to light and all dimensions. So you're using that aspect of sound to create geometry. Now with that, you assign intention from a relatively healed and liberated human. It becomes truly powerful. So you're going from the top down, breaking up sacred geometry, breaking up certain types of technology. These work brilliantly. There is a reason for these instruments to have survived. So the mighty drum, oh, without a doubt. But then smaller instruments, like say, for example, the Atlantean system, made from copper and bronze, or the Tibetan singing bowl, again made from bronze. These wonderful ancestors, they had plenty of gold, but still they went with this metal. It seems to be the right formula. The type of vibrations that it creates in reality are conducive to accepting conscious forms, mind forms. If the intention is healing, then it amplifies the effect. It works really brilliantly. And so if our wonderful audience want to clear themselves of any implants or the parasitic effects of, let's say, black magic, geometry, from that which has been inflicted upon us by the frickin' pirates, oh yes, the drums will work. They don't need to buy a drum. They can listen to a recording of a proper shaman. That seems to work too. Set the intention to be free. And that is our order. Rank as souls and beings. You wish to be free, and that is the law.
What do you think of
And
just
then
like?
there are mechanisms.
What do you think of like the idea of like if you don't have drums, just like maybe even just hitting a table or your knees or something, you know? I feel
Make
like
noise.
just the rhythm
Make
and
noise.
just the sound, it's you know what I mean? Like it might help a little bit. I feel like because I feel like they with Native Americans, like they really would use it. I'm a musician, so I'm all about this. It hypnotizes people. And what it is when you hypnotize someone, they're more susceptible to putting out a frequency to create something. And instead of it being unintentional in a ceremony, it's intentional. They're trying to put you in that frequency so that you then do in turn manifest a certain thing that you are aware you're trying to manifest. So that's like the difference between going to the club, you know, or going to a ceremony, I guess, kind of. You know what I mean? Like that's maybe a rudimentary way of saying it, but no, if the music wasn't powerful for changing things and manipulating time and space, they would invest millions and millions of dollars on it and fucking kidnap people and stuff to make music. They wouldn't, you know? So that's from experience.
So the instrument, the mechanism is the same. So it could be used for good or evil. In this case, we're taking control. Even clapping your hands. Every child claps their hands. It's built into us. Right? So clap your hands 4 times a second to 7 times a second, 4 to 7 hertz. Puts your mind in a relaxed state. That's the beat of the shamanic drum. Boom, 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 boom. 5-6 minutes, you're in the zone. You can journey.
Very
Go
much
to the
so.
underworld. Do soul shard retrieval.
You probably know about like some of like the electronic music that's come out, that some of it like psytrance, for instance. It's meant to sort of zone you out and relax you, and it's not like the kind of boom boom boom. It's like you dance to it. It's just, but it's more relaxed, and like the rhythmic beats of these certain music, the electronic beats that are very rhythmic, very on point. It influences the psyche so much, and it's very important to recognize, like, okay, like people are like, well, all this ritual and this weird stuff, it all seems so voodoo or like strange or whatever, and you know their logical brain is like, none of this makes sense. Well, guess who is participating in this stuff? The elite. And guess who's using it as psychological warfare upon the population? The elite. So I'm just saying, maybe we should take it a little more seriously. That's all, you know.
Agreed.
And your explanations of it have just been really spot on, Amir. Thank you.
Well, my partner Lou, it was trained. Um, his grandmothers were Iroquois, and he showed abilities at a very young age. So one of his grandmothers took it upon herself to teach him, and he helps me with soul fragment retrieval, which is how I've been reintegrating altars. And it I have to be careful how many I reintegrate at a time, because some of these are very dominant personalities, and I have been warned by guardians that Earth Penny is the only altar I have that has an ethical compass, and that she has to stay dominant for that reason. So my other altars were never taught right from wrong, and they've done some horrific things.
Well,
So
we like
anybody,
Earth Penny.
I can relate to this as well. Being in the programs, I had some very evil altars. Some of them, if I could, I would prosecute them for their crimes against humanity. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know how any of that works because it's like it's me, but it's not me, so it's weird. But I also do think that in these programs, we got programmed to be these certain people, and I feel like this is our life where we decide to be who we are. And Penny, you're deciding to be a good person. I think I'm deciding to be a good person, and I think that's really important to recognize. Very important.
Penny is a god grandmother to my firstborn and only daughter. So
yes,
and
I
Lou's
have
god
been
grandfather.
I have been really jazzed about that. I've been enjoying getting the videos. She from the videos, she appears to be an absolutely perfect child, happy, bubbly.
It's
She's
quite
already starting to try to babble at Papa.
I would honestly think that she's a very powerful soul coming in directly after Brian, because think about Jack. You have Brian coming after his father, and look what his father did. And then he's taken over that, so I know this little daughter, I know she has to be someone big. And, like, I think it's going to take some remote viewing to see what her home planet is and what her mission is, but I know it's something big, because Brian's going to have to hand this industry over to her someday, or another child, but I just feel there's something about her that's big that no one's really considering.
Well, I was just sort of watching to see how she developed on her own.
well, I think she's very protected. One thing I want to bring it back to is the Anunnaki. So, because we're approaching the 2 hour mark. So, what do you guys think? And I'll just let whoever wants to go first answer this. Of the idea that the Anunnaki are our friends and they're going to save us all. And thank God for the Anunnaki. What do you guys think of that?
If I may jump in, there are archetypes of life, like humanoid, head, arms, torso, legs. It seems the Anunnaki that came to Earth, they are not the only ones of their kind, but they are the worst of their kind. And there are others that did what they were supposed to do, and they continued evolving, some of them becoming beautiful, benevolent races. And so they exist among all forms of life. Life is very plentiful. And so let's not be racist towards anyone or anything, and judging each individual being by merit. And so it's not right to cast them all in the same light.
I agree with that.
I agree too.
And
It's
you
kind of
know,
like separating Anunnaki from Zahami. The Anunnaki are the people. That's the people of Anu. That's the father's name. So you're only taking the genealogy of the Zahami and taking one person's name, and then you're saying everybody derives from Anu. Correct. If it's genealogy, yes.
And I
But
just think
they
it's
also have
really,
outposts on Sirius A, Sirius B. A lot of them original Lyran blood. So, like, if you really go back to the Orion Wars and all that stuff, like, they've been throughout the entire cosmos. They're not just a singular planet, Planet X, coming every 3,600 years in a Shar. Dude, they've helped co-conquer the universe around here, around these parts. You know what I'm saying, with the Dracos? So, like, they were given strongholds on so many planets, and it's part of the paying the taxes. They're the people in charge of establishing the religions, the dogmas, and the rules in order to establish us with commerce, to teach us language, to teach us the Anunnaki time, so we can act as workers and make them as much money as we can. And that's what time is. If we say, hey, let's all meet at noon, everybody knows what noon is. It's the highest point in the sky. Imagine before the Anunnaki came in, there was no time. If you wanted to meet another being, you would say, I'll see you sometime tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no meeting point. So you establish time. Therefore, you establish the maximum amount of profits. Does that make sense? So, like, there's so many rabbit holes we can go through with the Anunnaki, and it's not like you can't just sum them up. Like, they are not evil nor good. They are both. They are duality. There's good Zahami. There's good Anunnaki. They're not all evil, but
There are good Draco.
since they came to Earth, what they've done to Earth is bad. I'm not saying that there wasn't some individual camps that were fighting against each other, because they brought the law of kingship, where they passed their seed. It's called the law of seed with the Anunnaki. It literally says that in the Sumerian tablets. And I believe there's so many threads we've been talking tonight, so much I want to say, but it's like we can't, just there's so much amazing things to talk about the Anunnaki, but there's not enough time.
Well, my background about the Anunnaki started with, I read Sitchin. I was friends with Gerald Clark. I have interacted with Billy Carson and with Dully Indigo Star, who used to be his personal assistant. And I've had personal interactions with the Jahami. They decided that I was an abomination, and they put me into something they called the truth machine, and they were peeling my altars off with the intention of destroying me where I could not reincarnate. They called it forever death. They said that I was an abomination, that I was nothing but a girl, Lulu, usurping authority. And they were not going to tolerate me. And because of a past life relationship with the now Queen Mother of the Draco Empire, I was rescued. She sent the Germans to come get me. And the Germans lost a ship in the process. So I will tell you flat out, this biased me against these Jahami. These folks want me dead. Dead. So, yes, I have issues with them. And I worked at the court where the Anunnaki were being tried for violation of the prime. I was the bailiff. Now, that's not a real important court official, but every court has one.
And Penny, Audrey Walters has seen you there because she, for the Galactic Court system, has served or does serve as a kind of like a intergalactic liaison or interspecies type liaison. And she says she has seen you there in your Draco form as a bailiff. And it's pretty wild. Yeah, seriously. We still get this separately. And
yeah,
yeah,
I was kind of hoping that particular detail wouldn't come out, but it's okay. I have at soul level, I tend to be reptilian, and there's something about the sheer power that reptilians have that makes it attractive humanity is so limited. And part of the reason that I have health problems is because this body has a difficult time containing me. That's a polite way of putting it. I've gone to conferences and people would be at the very back of the room complaining about that they were inside my energy field. So I've tried pulling it in when I'm around others so that I'm not bothering people, but you know, it's hard.
It's like the Anunnaki wanted to take you out, or that faction, because to them you're like Arya, the sister to the Kwisatz Haderach, and you're like, you're an abomination. So like, get her, and you're like,
Yeah,
no,
pretty much.
bitches.
Pretty much. I will
Penny.
say that I don't originate in this dimensional reality. And my original form is a red dragon. And that original form is still a child, approximately 6 years old. So I don't get a lot of wisdom from her. I get a lot of emotional responses. And I've had people complain that my inner child is real close to the surface. Well, that's because my higher self is a child. So,
Penny, the human vessel can be upgraded. And of course, the prototype that we are born into is sorely inadequate. But you would benefit from this. I offer to increase flow. You can do with a hell of a lot more. That would also deal with a lot of physical conditions. You can't pull enough of your infinite soul in. That is true. But this brilliant mechanism that is the human body can be upgraded.
Well, that would be nice because this is Saturday.
It's absolutely possible.
Yesterday I saw my primary and I scared her because I had a bunch of anomalous results and she just basically turned green and started figuring out what she could do. So we are now in a stage where I'm scaring the doctor, so I guess it's time to do something.
And Penny, you've always been quote unquote anomalous. Here's one of the physical proofs for you is we believe that CRISPR technology may have been applied to you while you're still in the womb of your mother to insert Draco reptilian DNA so that for the programs you'd be better able to interact and interface with the Draco and also to have more abilities. But that hybridization has also led to health problems such as dietary allergies and rejections and things like that.
I wasn't in such bad shape until after the first near-death experience. There's something about when I died and came back that activated a lot of crap. And
you smuggled technology.
That was in 1984. So I've been dealing with progressive crap ever since. But it seemed to be part of the mix was that I didn't fit in the body didn't want to hold it, the body wanted to complain, and all kinds of crap kept happening, and I just kept going. And I've had 2 ex-husbands try to kill me, and I'm still here, and I still make sense when I talk. I mean, I may have trouble walking, but I still make sense when I talk. Right, Ark?
I think so. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have invited you on the show, huh?
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's yes, I do need help with energy flow. So,
would you just allow me to do my best? no, nothing to lose. Let me try.
Well,
It would be an
all
honor.
all the work that I've done with them, I highly recommend it. I mean, the wildest thing to me was I was having these like hearts. That something was like sucking my energy from my back, and I did some stuff with them, and he helped get rid of that entity, plural entities that were like doing that. And then the wildest thing is that it's been healing. And you know, like when you have like a scab or something, it kind of itches. You kind of have like this muscly feeling. It's kind of been like that after you close that portal. And so to me, I no longer have the feeling of like being harvested like that anymore. And also, I just say too, like us MK Ultra folks, we're kind of tough cookies. He won't give up on you. If it takes a reevaluation and going back in or something like that, he'll do that. And that's a testament to how good he is at what he does, because a lot of people will not do that. And if it takes more than one time, it takes more than one time. But yeah, I really I can't recommend Amir enough.
Hey, Arkheim, as part of real life testimony there, wasn't it several days after your one consult with Dr. Amir where he removed a kind of a blue helmet or blob that was blocking you, that Edward Hughes came through?
Yeah,
other altars begin to reintegrate.
Yeah, and I've been having more and more altars integrate. You know, like the Henry Hitchens and just all these different altars. Yeah, coming through. And yeah, I think that was a big part of that removal that you did for me. Thank you.
I can definitely verify some of those altars acting as handlers. When I had Arkheim under, we were talking to some of his altars and stuff back and forth, and we dealt with one specific one, a gray, and he was a little asshole, man. And like, again, Arkheim's altar interview, whatever regression you want to call it, man, it was very intriguing, man. And like, I talk about it all the time, and like, there was so much in all the altars we talked to. There was so much power to be able to bring something forward, have a conversation with them, and see that they're an individual. They're a different type of human being. They have their own existence, their own memories, and like their voices are completely different. Their attitudes are
I know.
different.
People were trying to say that like Edward's like fake. Like she just came
No. Edward.
Guys, no one speaks to me like for 5 hours of discussion in an Australian accent, like unbroken, like, and then talking about the stuff he's talking about. Like, no, that's pretty amazing. You're really cool if you can do that, though.
I would never insult my Aussie fans by. I'd love to play knifey spoony with Edward Hughes. This is one of my Australian followers. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're convinced, man. He's real.
Yeah, he's 100%. Like, I lived with that man for a week. Like, we went out grocery shopping and shit. Like, he's real. He's like,
yeah, me and Edward, we even had a conversation on Facebook. I got to get to know him, and he remembers the name of my SSP ship, and he remembers what kind of commander I am, and how that it's hard to earn.
In another reality,
because
they call you the bulldog, the solar bulldog.
Yeah, he's like, you're kind of an asshole, but it's like it's a respectful asshole, because like it's hard to earn respect from me, because I expect a lot from my soldiers, the people I am on a team with that are equal to me.
So what it is over there is these satanic people, man. They're hardcore, and in his reality that he's from, there's a huge military force who is dedicated to stopping what they call the archonic forces, which are the Satanists, because they're so damaging and detrimental to society. And so their reality is a lot better, because they're aware of these people, and the public is aware of these people. And
the public here is minimally aware and terrified. And, that's just...
It's trendy to be a Satanist. It's trendy to... You know what I mean? So there's that aspect too.
I think
I've dealt with Seth.
People just need to understand stuff a little bit better. That's all. You know, they just need to understand how it works a little bit better.
But every time you try to teach it, they go crazy and call you a demon. Or at least that's what they do to me.
I I think
Not over
have
here,
to do
Penny.
it.
Everybody here loves you.
Call me and Penny. I love to deal with those. There's ways to deal with that.
We got
I'm really good at it.
We got 115 people here right now, and I'm pretty sure everybody here loves you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Drago, you were saying in your recall on the other side, you're the bulldog, and then how do you like reconcile that with in this timeline and all that?
Well, there's not anything hard to reconcile because that's who I am today. And once you earn my respect, it's typically forever. The only way you lose my respect is betrayal. You know, some kind of a backstab. But like, once you earn it, everybody on this show has earned my respect, every single one of you. And it's taken time to get to know each and every one of you and to open up that closed heart chakra and be like, this is soul family, man. Like, we've served together, we've died together. Like, I was realizing earlier that I don't know what Arkheim's backstory, what his root energy is, but I realized there's 4 dragons in this video right now, which made me think that maybe Arkheim had root dragon energy, because the odds that Amir's dragon, I'm dragon, Brian's dragon, Penny's dragon, I'm like, what if this
I'm Phoenix.
Man,
I'm Phoenix.
that is an extremely powerful thing. And I bring in the Golden Phoenix fire. Penny, when you were at my house when I blessed the food for everybody, I called upon the Golden Phoenix fire
Yeah, you did.
food and
I think one of the coolest things I ever got to do was hang out at Drago's house with Laura Eisenhower and just kick it.
Dude, that week was freaking amazing.
That
Just
was so much fun.
you and Kat's hypnosis sessions. Everybody in the living room, everybody was like, they were freaking out because I basically brought out like a billion-year-old like Sumerian god named Shakriya. That's one of fucking Arkheim's altars. One of the most powerful beings I ever talked to. And when we release that, it's going to explain what the Matrix really is. And when he tells you the answer, what the Matrix is, you're going to be like, are you freaking serious? Really? Like, it's so technical, but that's what's so amazing about us, because that's why I know they target us, because dragons specifically, we cannot fit in a single body. Like a Draco energy. You cannot put a Draco soul in a single body. It will kill the body in infancy.
Yeah, I know. I'm split up. I'm split up into different bodies.
You have to. So that's how they
Yeah,
pre-target us.
I was split up into 1,000 bodies, and each one has a guardian assigned.
And they have to. The more powerful you are, the more they have to split you. Like Penny was talking about earlier, how they won't let you go back to source. It's true. Amir's remote viewed the total amount of years I've served in the programs in the life of Drago Reid, and him and Ileana came out with 2,500 years of servitude. Not a single 20 and back, not 320 and backs, not 560 and backs. Like, Penny has done a total of 5,500 plus. And to know that I've done at least 2,500, and they will not let me die. They will not let me go back to source.
Oh,
Because that's all your altars concurrently. So it's not just you and a linear.
Yes.
They take like 50 of you and then throw you out there and
I
then
would
throw
need
you through
all
time
50
travel
of
in there.
myself to come back through time and space to my soul signature energy to then go back to source. If you withhold 50% of that energy, I can't go back.
I want people to understand I experience those things linearly. I go out, I come back. I go out, I come back. I go out, I come back. So the further back in time I talk about, the longer ago it was. But I experience them linearly with my consciousness. So, but yeah.
Like
and
all of us.
I'm still taken. People don't understand that. I'm still taken. I wake up just dog tired and have no idea where I was because they mind wiped me again. And it sometimes takes 2 or 3 days to get past the fog. And it's like, well, where were you? I don't know. I was on a ship. I was on a ship for what felt like forever. I do remember that the commanding officer was a SOB. And then that commanding officer shows up in an interview and starts giving me hell because he thought I was bad word. But yeah, the people that I remember from these programs, that I recognize them in the here and now, they are all people that I had a hard time with. I don't remember the nice people. And most of the people I have in the memories, their faces are literally invisible, see-through, because they have mind wiped me where I can't see them. Some people, I only know them by their energy.
Yeah, it's called face blindness.
Yeah. And I have trouble remembering people's names in the here and now because of that.
Yeah, they don't want us knowing and remembering commanders' names and operation details. So that's why we're bad with names and faces. Because once we come back, they remove the names and faces. They program you to focus on a target's face, and everything else you deselect in your field. When you're going through 300 or 400 people in a group, go ahead.
They also like to send us to alternate realities to confuse us in our memories.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. How about there's this ongoing like shit talking about how Arkheim or me or somebody will explain what happened to them in these other timelines, and they say, well, that doesn't matter. It didn't happen here. How does it not matter? Do you not understand that you are a multiversal being? This is not a universe. We're located within a universe contained within a multiverse.
Also, that mentality suggests that these timelines don't affect each other, like these alternate realities don't communicate and affect each other, and they do. They do. Our cultures and stuff.
That's what they found out.
Our music leaks into each other's timelines, or media. I mean, there are movies that people watch that are literally, they say they made them here. They didn't fucking make them here. They didn't make them on this planet. Like, there's certain movies like where they just have to, it's all smoke and mirrors, man. It's all fake. Like,
yeah, even Mars.
I cannot go to an alternate reality. I want you guys to understand that. This is why I have so much trouble dealing with people talking about timeline stuff, is because I'm part of the mechanics of this timeline.
You're an anchor being. You're an anchor being to this timeline. Not to be confused with an anchor baby, but I guess if they grabbed you from another timeline and threw you into this timeline and you're born here, I guess then you'd be a timeline anchor baby. But you're an anchor being for this timeline. I'm an
anchor being in this timeline, and I have tried to leave and been pushed back. I'm not allowed to leave.
Penny, you trying to destroy us all? You need to stay, girl. If they take us out, if they take you out, we're done. That's why they're protecting.
Only if they take my soul out. This body is eventually going to wear out.
All the remote viewers have seen that. I'm not from this timeline, and I don't recognize it. I remember probably 15 years ago, I remember looking around, and nothing made sense. Like, all the buildings would disappear. The buildings would be different. The energy's different. It's almost like having that chemo brain where you say how you'll try to wake up from being taken, and it never wears off. This reality.
Do you know why this reality is different? And you got to shut up and let me say it, okay? In 2012, Hillary Clinton was elected. And the first thing she did was go to nuclear war with Russia. The Time Corps like in Marine Corps, the Time Corps took all of the affiliated bits and pieces, pinched off the destructions, merged them together, and fused them into the next healthy timeline split. Every single thing you remember as a Mandela effect was real, but that one healthy timeline split, that one took priority. And we did this to save the people that were there. We were saving lives. And yes, I am part of Time Corps. So is Sean Bond, if you can ever get him to talk about it. When I remembered doing this with Sean, he cried. He said, I thought you were never going to remember. So those of you who saw me be real friendly with Sean at the conference, that's why we serve in Time Corps together.
Has codes. So when Drago was doing his work on me with the QHHT, he did a great job with the amount of time he had, but he would have needed like a fucking week to go in there and done. But
dude, it was, I think Penny was like 5 hours or something. You were under 4 hours. I can't remember. There's not enough time.
I kept popping back out too.
But one of the things, going back to Sean,
that's from that trauma
that I said, and do you remember this, Drago? A version of me, Alter, came out and said that Sean had codes.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and I said that next time you do a QHHT on me, Sean needs to be there.
Yeah,
and every time you run into one of these walls, he'll just be right there. Here's the code. Bye. And then next step, you know what I mean? It would make things so much faster. He has all the codes. Because that's what he did in the programs, is he was a disruptor and just do stuff like and not get caught. He's really good at it. And because this is stuff that would literally sometimes it would take maybe 300 years for you to get caught for anyone to realize it. You know what I mean? So, he's hugely important to the movement and has got a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, I commend Sean greatly as well. And I did not know that about you guys in the Time Corps. I am in a lot of different time travel stuff. I won't be surprised if
that means you are connected to Time Corps, Arkheim, because we're literally part of the time operations, and they monitor all that. They come after people like us. If they're not sending us directly, they're the ones trying to police it. So any of us through Project Looking Glass and jumping through portals or teleporting, they monitor all that, because what Sean teaches is how to cover up your signature, how to cover up the trail of creating the portal, because that's what they can do. They can have certain machines that can see exactly where you go like a trail. And he has these codes that help you delete the ones and zeros within the matrix to help cover it up.
Yep.
And that's what me and Sean are doing. Me, him, and Anthony Zender, we're on another team where we're going in these domes, just taking them out. And Sean knows all about that. I actually talked to Sean about your session, and Sean said he was down to be there, even if it's on like Zoom or something, if it's in person with you and I, or it's next year at the event. He's going to be there to help me help you with that session. So like, it's already set in motion. We already plan with this. And again, Penny, when I do your second session, we'll figure out more things to help you with, and we'll help identify. Maybe if I could bring out some altars and talk to them, that would be freaking amazing, because like, if I can help integrate some of them.
I've had a hard time dealing with what came up in mine.
I know, I've heard you talk about it online.
It's been traumatic. Briefly, what came up was that when I was 12, my father wanted to abandon me because he was afraid of my abilities. And I've had a hard time dealing with that. So.
Yeah, and we found out that was part of his religious programming about being in the family, and like that's why you were treated a certain way your whole life, and you couldn't really you can obviously hear. Do you guys hear this helicopter? It has a very specific signature. Can anybody tell me which helicopter it is? Guess.
Black Hawk.
That's a Black Ops helicopter. There's helicopters all the time over this part of Tampa. That's a military craft. It has that double thud. You can hear its reverberation. You always know the military stuff. But I just find that it's interesting. A lot of times when I'm doing these shows, we all talk about how these crafts, they're buzzing us, man. It's just like, are we that important? where all the time you're having to show yourselves and again take out our transmissions. It's like almost an honor that we're that freaking important to you guys that we all have files on us. And all of us, they try to take us out in various ways and use V2K on our friends to come after us. Like, it's insane the type of technology they have, but like, that lets you know, man, each one of us is an important player in this chessboard of planet Earth. And we were here to basically break the programming codes of this chessboard so we can remove all the players off the board that's being used simultaneously.
Well, on that, I want to thank everybody who's here in the audience. Didn't get to say hi to everybody. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Feel free to check out the other channels and podcasts for everybody who's here, and some of the shows that the Sun is Sam one that Arkheim and I did. Boy, that one I've been showing around to a lot of people. And the Edward Hughes ones, that one's really mind-blowing. And please share this out to, you're on your own social medias and platforms. And I really hope that you all get to join us as well, if not in person, then via the live stream for the Full Disclosure Now conference next year, 2025, July 15th to 18th.
Yeah, I got everybody's. I got Amir, Penny, and Drago's stuff linked in the description. Your websites and channels and stuff like that. So,
great.
Always
you're muted still, Penny.
Guys.
I lost my website, so that don't give me that look. There were only 5 people using it in the last 2 years.
Penny, that's
well,
the number I wanted you to see. If you truly knew how much of an impact you can make on this planet, man, you would freak out. And I believe after they start taking down these top players, and I hope to God it starts with this Epstein list, because Matt Gaetz just literally announced to Congress that he had the Epstein list on his hard drive and he was asking to enter it into record. Because the FBI was admitting, they said, we don't know where it is. So Matt Gaetz, that's why they just started the attacks against Matt Gaetz. I literally have him on video saying, I'm asking for permission to enter this into evidence. They said they have everything. And I believe once they show that, they're going to show the truth about the celebrities, the entertainment industry. And I believe this is
and the politicians.
Exactly. So I believe next year is year 1, where we build from the ground up. And this becomes an educational system. We just don't tell this in the news. We put this in the school books. We show how our planet was taken over by extraterrestrials and how they co-opted everybody in our governments, made them pawns, made us use us, made them sell us out. So we'll see what happens next year. And 10 years from now, hopefully we can see that we've made a little bit forward movement on this grand game called the chessboard. And hopefully 100 years from now, the chessboard doesn't even exist.
And so it is.
yeah, I hope that these fuckers get taken down too. Definitely. Thank you to everybody for being here. I really appreciate all your support. It was a record amount of viewers. I think we got to like 120 at some point. So thank you everyone for being here. And I'm gonna end the stream now, I guess. Also I should say I had a concert that I was doing. It's 2 parts because my European audience requested it to have 2 parts so they could maybe show up. So 6 o'clock PST, Pacific Standard Time. We're gonna have to translate that to whatever part of the world you're in. But I'm gonna just be doing a little concert of some MK Ultra songs, explaining some of where they come from and stuff. And so that'll be like 30 minutes from now, not long from now. So I'll see you guys there. And then Jessica Jones later, too, as well. So probably like right around when I'm wrapping up with that little concert I'm doing. So check out Jessica Jones later, everybody. And I'm going to end the stream now.
I will talk to Dr. Amir.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Good talking to you. I'll see you guys on the flip side.
All right, I got a little outro video that I put for the fans and stuff. So this is goodbye to you guys. See you later.